The mind, this curious instrument, a fleeting concept, a puzzle that we spend our entire lives trying to unravel. We speak of it as though it were a singular entity, but in truth it is a network of thoughts, sensations, and ideas, each connected to the other, like branches of a tree stretching into the infinite. Yet, in the stillness of the present moment, the mind is not a thing at all, but rather an experience, a stream of awareness flowing like water through the ever-changing river of time. When we try to grasp the mind, to hold it in place, we often find that it slips through our fingers. We attempt to control it, to discipline it, yet the harder we try, the more elusive it becomes. It is not something that can be tamed by force or will. Rather, it is something that must be allowed to be in its natural state, fluid, spontaneous, and ever-shifting. In this process, we often forget that the mind is not separate from the body, nor is it an isolated entity floating above us. It is a reflection of the whole. Every thought you have is an expression of the totality of your being. Your body, your environment, your relationships, they all influence the dance of your thoughts. This is why, when you change your environment, or when you shift your perspective, you experience a different mind altogether. But here lies the paradox. To understand the mind, you must stop thinking about it. The more you try to think about the mind, the further you drift from understanding it. True wisdom, true insight, comes not from thinking about the mind, but from observing it, simply observing, without judgment, without interference. In that silent observation, you see that there is no separation between observer and observed. We are often taught to identify with our thoughts, to believe that we are our thoughts. But in reality, you are not the thought. You are the awareness in which the thought arises. When you realize this, a profound shift occurs. You begin to see that your mind is not a prison, but a vast and open sky in which thoughts are like clouds, passing, transient, and free to come and go. The beauty of the mind is not in its thoughts or its knowledge, but in its capacity to observe. When we stop trying to control the flow of thoughts and simply allow them to arise and dissipate, we begin to experience the true freedom of the mind. This is not a freedom from thoughts, but a freedom in which thoughts are allowed to flow without hindrance, without attachment. And so we are left with a question: if you are not your thoughts, who are you? To answer that, we must move beyond the mind, beyond words, beyond concepts. Only then, in the quiet stillness, do we truly encounter ourselves. And in that encounter, we realize that the mind, in all its complexities and paradoxes, is but a mirror reflecting the vastness of the universe within us. The mind is an interesting thing. We spend so much of our lives trying to grasp it, to understand it, to control it. But it's a fleeting concept. It slips through our fingers, just like water through a sieve. We try to hold it, but it's as if it evaporates the moment we focus on it. It's not something we can pin down and say, "This is what the mind is." It's not a thing, not a solid object that can be contained in a box. It's a flow, a current that moves in and out of our awareness, constantly changing, constantly shifting. Now we tend to talk about the mind as if it were a fixed thing, something we can understand if we just dig deep enough into it. We say things like, "I have a mind," or "my mind is busy," but in truth, there's no such thing as your mind, in the way we think of ownership. The mind isn't something that belongs to you in the traditional sense. You're not the owner of the mind. You are the experience of it, the awareness that observes it. The mind isn't a separate entity from you. It's not apart from your body, your senses, your surroundings. It's part of this total web of life. It's like a river flowing through the landscape of your being, continuously moving and reshaping itself. When we try to define the mind, when we try to pin it down and label it, we're left with more questions than answers. What is thought, really? What is consciousness? How do we know we're thinking? And if we are thinking, who is it that's thinking? These are deep questions, questions that don't have clear, cut answers. The more we try to understand the mind with logic and reason, the more elusive it becomes. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. It's there for a moment, but then it's gone, and yet, in that fleeting moment, it's as real as anything else. The mind, you see, is not something that can be captured by intellect alone. It's not a problem to be solved or a puzzle to be completed. It's not something you can grasp with your hands, no matter how hard you try. The more you try to control it, the more you try to define it, the further away you get from truly understanding it. It's like chasing a shadow. You'll never catch it, but you can appreciate its presence. This is the beauty of the mind. It's a fleeting, ephemeral thing, and yet it's all encompassing. It is your connection to the world. It is your perception of everything that is happening around you and within you. But it's not something you own. You don't possess it. It's part of the great dance of life, and it moves in rhythm with everything else. There's no separation between you and the mind. The mind is not a thing that exists outside of you. It's a part of you. When we talk about the mind, we're talking about a relationship between awareness and experience, between thought and perception. This is why trying to capture the mind, trying to make it something concrete, is ultimately futile. It's a living thing, a process that is always unfolding. The more you try to hold it still, the more it slips away from you. It's a river that can't be dammed, a current that can't be stopped. The mind is alive, and it's always in motion. And here's the irony: the more we try to make sense of the mind, the more we distance ourselves from it. We're so busy thinking about our thoughts, trying to understand them, trying to control them, that we miss the point. The mind isn't something that can be understood with the intellect alone. It's not something that can be explained or rationalized. It's an experience, a state of being, and the moment you realize that, the more you begin to understand it. The mind is not something to be figured out, but something to be experienced. So, when we speak of the mind, let's not think of it as something solid or fixed. Let's not think of it as a separate entity, something we can control or tame. The mind is a fleeting concept, a constantly shifting experience that is inseparable from who we are. It's a process, not a thing, and in that process there is freedom. There is an openness, a fluidity, a possibility for transformation. When we stop trying to define the mind, when we stop trying to control it, we begin to see it for what it truly is. Dynamic, ever-changing flow that is both within us and all around us. And in that realization, we come closer to understanding not just the mind, but ourselves. The mind is not something we possess. It is an experience. It is not a static object we can grasp and hold, but a dynamic, living phenomenon. And in that realization, we encounter something truly profound. The mind isn't something that exists outside of us, nor is it something that we can control in a conventional sense. It is the total experience of being alive, the awareness that encompasses everything from thoughts to feelings, from sensations to perceptions. We often think of the mind as a tool that we use to understand the world, to make decisions, to think logically. But it's not just a tool. It is the very fabric of experience itself. Every moment you are alive, you are experiencing your mind. You are not merely observing it from a distance, you are it. Every thought, every feeling, every sensation you encounter is the mind in action. You cannot step outside of it. There is no you apart from your mind. You are the experience of it. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing that greets you is the mind. It is the backdrop against which the entire world is painted. You might wake up with a thought already in your mind, or perhaps you wake up to a quiet stillness. But either way, the mind is there, shaping your experience of the moment. It is constantly filtering, interpreting, and reacting to the world around you. Without the mind, there would be no world as we know it. There would be no perception, no understanding, no meaning. But the key here is that the mind is not something you can possess or control. It is something that happens. It is a continuous flow of experiences, a stream of consciousness that never truly stops. The moment you think you have caught it, it shifts again. The moment you try to label it, it changes shape. And this is where the beauty lies, in its impermanence, in its constant flux. The mind is not a thing to be captured. It is an experience to be observed, a flow of awareness that is always in motion. When we think of the mind as an experience, we begin to see it for what it truly is, not a static mechanical function, but a living, breathing entity. We are not separate from our minds, we are our minds, and the mind is the lens through which we encounter reality. Our perceptions, our emotions, our thoughts, they are not separate from us. They are not things that happen to us. They are our experience of being alive. This shift in perspective is key. We are so accustomed to thinking of the mind as something we control, something that belongs to us, that we forget that the mind itself is the very essence of what we experience. You cannot think of the mind as an object, a separate entity, and still truly understand it. The mind is like a river. It is always flowing, always changing, never the same from one moment to the next. It is not something that can be pinned down or understood in terms of static definitions. It is an ongoing process, a constant unfolding. When we stop trying to control the mind, when we stop trying to make it fit into our preconceived notions, we begin to experience it as it is. We realize that we are not the mind itself, but the awareness that watches the mind. The mind is the river, and we are the witness standing on the shore, observing it flow. The more we identify with the mind, the more we become lost in it. But when we realize that we are the awareness within which the mind flows, we can begin to experience it more freely, without attachment or resistance. In this freedom we discover something remarkable. The mind, in all its complexity and confusion, is not a burden to be controlled, but a gift to be experienced. Every thought, every sensation, every fleeting emotion is part of the tapestry of life. The mind is the stage upon which the drama of our existence unfolds. It is the ground from which our perceptions and actions arise, and in its ever-changing dance, it mirrors the rhythms of the world around us. When we view the mind as an experience, we begin to see that it is not something to be conquered. It is not something that requires our control or manipulation. It simply is. It is the experience of being, and to be truly present to it is to be truly alive. The mind, in all its vastness and mystery, is not a thing we can understand with intellect alone. It is something we must experience directly, without trying to label it or contain it. When we allow the mind to simply be, we enter into a deeper relationship with ourselves, one where we can appreciate the mind as a living, breathing process, something not to be controlled, but to be understood through experience. In that understanding we find freedom, we find peace, and we find that in the end the mind is not something we have. It is the experience of being here now. Freedom through observation is a concept that might seem paradoxical at first. We often think of freedom as the ability to act, to control, to impose our will on the world. We picture freedom as movement, as choice, as the power to do what we desire. But true freedom, the kind that transcends the limitations of the mind and the body, comes not from action but from observation. The mind in its natural state is full of noise, thoughts racing, emotions swirling, desires pulling us in every direction. We become so entangled in this mental chaos that we forget there is a space of quiet, a space of stillness within us. We think we must fight against the mind, control it, or repress it to find peace. But peace is not something we can force. It is something we discover when we stop trying to control and simply observe. When you observe your thoughts, when you step back from the constant stream of mental chatter, something remarkable happens. The thoughts do not disappear, nor do they lose their power, but you begin to see them for what they are: temporary, fleeting phenomena that come and go like clouds in the sky. They are not you, they are not permanent. They are not something that you need to hold on to. The moment you stop identifying with your thoughts, you create a space of freedom. You are no longer a prisoner of the mind. You see, the mind itself is not the problem. It is not the thoughts or the emotions that trap us. It is our identification with them. The moment we think we are our thoughts, that we are our emotions, we are bound by them. We become slaves to our desires, our fears, our worries. But when we observe the mind without judgment, when we allow the thoughts to pass through us like leaves on a stream, we begin to experience freedom. Freedom is not the absence of thoughts. It is the ability to see them for what they are, just thoughts. The freedom comes from not being attached to them. Observation, then, is the key. When you observe, you are not trying to control or change what is happening in the mind. You are simply watching. This act of non-interference is what creates freedom. It is the space between stimulus and response, the space where you can choose how to react, where you can simply allow things to unfold without trying to control them. You are the witness, not the participant. And in that space of witness, you realize that you are not bound by the fluctuations of the mind. You are free from them. This freedom extends beyond the mind. It is not limited to just the thoughts and emotions that arise within us. It applies to our entire experience of life. Life, too, is a stream of experiences, constantly changing, constantly moving. We often try to control life, to make it fit into a mold that suits us, to impose our will on the world around us. But life is not something we can control. It is something we experience, something we observe. And just as with the mind, when we step back and allow life to unfold without interference, we discover a profound sense of freedom. Think about it for a moment. When you observe something without trying to change it, when you simply allow it to be what it is, you no longer have to struggle with it. You no longer have to push against it. You no longer have to fight. Whether it's a thought, an emotion, a situation in life, or another person's behavior, the moment you stop trying to control it, you free yourself from the struggle. You accept what is, and in that acceptance you find peace. This is the paradox of freedom through observation. The more you try to control or change something, the more you become entangled in it. But the moment you observe without judgment, without attachment, you are free. You are free from the mental patterns, the emotional reactions, the desires and fears that normally dictate your behavior. You become the detached observer, the calm center amidst the storm. The power of observation is that it allows us to recognize the impermanence of everything, the thoughts, the emotions, the sensations, and even the circumstances of our lives. Everything is constantly changing. The more we identify with something, the more we cling to it, the more we become trapped by it. But when we observe, when we detach from the need to control or possess, we allow life to be as it is. and in that space of allowing we find our true freedom. In the end, freedom through observation is not about escaping life or transcending the mind. It is about seeing life as it truly is, without the distortion of attachment, without the need to control. It is about stepping back and recognizing that we are not the mind, we are not our thoughts, and we are not the world around us. We are the awareness in which all these things arise, and in that awareness we are free. Free from the mind, free from the world, and free to simply be. The transient nature of thoughts is one of the most fundamental and profound truths about the mind, though it is something we often overlook. Thoughts arise in our minds constantly, like waves on the surface of an ocean, and yet we rarely stop to consider just how fleeting and impermanent they really are. We get so caught up in them, so entangled in the narrative they create, that we forget they are not permanent. They are not us. They are passing moments, here one moment and gone the next. Think of a thought as a cloud drifting across the sky. It may appear large and heavy, but it never lasts. It will eventually move, change shape, or dissolve. And so it is with our thoughts. They appear in the mind with apparent weight and significance, sometimes causing us to believe that they define us, that they represent our true selves. But just as the clouds do not define the sky, our thoughts do not define us. They come and go, arising from the vast expanse of the mind and fading back into it. This realization, that thoughts are transient, can bring a sense of freedom. The mind is not a constant solid entity. It is a flowing, ever-changing process. Thoughts are like guests that arrive uninvited and leave without notice, and the more we try to hold on to them, the more we try to make them stay, the more we suffer. When we identify too strongly with a thought, when we believe that a particular thought represents the truth of who we are, we get trapped in that moment. We cling to it, we ruminate on it, and in doing so, we forget that it is not permanent. In truth, thoughts are not our possession. They are phenomena that arise within us. They are like waves that are part of the greater ocean of awareness, but they are not the ocean itself. The mind itself, the awareness in which all thoughts arise, is vast, still, and ever present. But the thoughts, these temporary ripples on the surface, come and go. They are not the essence of the mind. The essence of the mind is the space in which thoughts arise and dissolve, not the thoughts themselves. The transient nature of thoughts means that no thought is permanent. No emotion is everlasting. Feelings of anxiety, frustration, joy, or love, all of them are fleeting, like leaves blowing in the wind. They come, they stir the waters of our consciousness, and then they fade away. This is the natural rhythm of the mind, and it is the key to understanding the impermanence of our mental states. When we realize this, we begin to break free from the cycle of attachment. We stop holding on to our thoughts as though they are permanent parts of our identity. We stop letting them dictate our mood, our actions, and our sense of self. Instead, we begin to see that thoughts are just that, thoughts. They are not a reflection of who we are. They are temporary experiences that arise from the mind, and just like all things in life, they pass. This understanding doesn't mean that we become detached from the world, or that we ignore our thoughts. It simply means that we stop identifying with them. We no longer see them as truths, but as passing phenomena that come and go. And in this realization, we find a deep sense of peace, because we no longer have to struggle with our thoughts. We can simply observe them as they arise, recognizing them for what they are, impermanent, fleeting, and transient. Imagine for a moment that you are sitting by a river. The water is constantly flowing, moving, never the same from one moment to the next. Thoughts are like the current, always in motion, always shifting. When we try to hold onto the water, to capture it in our hands, we only create struggle. But when we allow the water to flow freely, without resistance, we experience peace. And so it is with the mind. When we let thoughts come and go without clinging to them, without trying to make them permanent, we find freedom. The mind, like the river, is ever changing, and our peace comes not from stopping that change, but from accepting it, flowing with it, and observing it without attachment. The transient nature of thoughts teaches us that nothing in life is permanent. Emotions, experiences, and even our perceptions of reality, all of these are in constant flux. This is the nature of existence itself, and when we embrace this impermanence, we stop taking life so seriously. We realize that the struggles, the fears, and the worries we experience are just passing moments, here for a short time and then gone. In that awareness we find freedom. Freedom comes from the understanding that no thought, no matter how intense or all-consuming it may seem in the moment, is permanent. We are not bound by our thoughts. We are the awareness in which they arise and pass. And in this awareness we can experience life with greater ease, knowing that all things, good and bad, are just fleeting waves on the surface of the ocean of consciousness. We need only to observe them, to let them pass, and to remember that the vastness of the mind, like the ocean, is always here, always still, and always present. Beyond the mind lies a realm that cannot be grasped, only experienced. It is not a place, nor a destination you can travel to with effort or desire. It is the space in which all things arise and dissolve, including the mind itself. To go beyond the mind is not to escape it, nor to reject it, but to see it as it truly is, a beautiful, intricate illusion that dances moment by moment within something far greater, something infinitely still. The mind is like a mirror reflecting the world, yet it is never the world itself. It offers thoughts, images, memories, emotions, reflections of our inner and outer experiences, but these are not the totality of who or what we are. Just as the mirror is not the sun or the mountain it reflects, the mind is not the source of being. It is a tool, a servant, a mechanism that helps us navigate the ever-shifting terrain of existence. And yet, most of us become so enchanted by its activity that we begin to believe we are the mind, we are the thoughts, we are the stories playing across its screen. But what happens when we stop chasing those thoughts, when we cease identifying with the endless parade of concepts and judgments? There is a subtle shift, an unveiling. In the silence that follows, we begin to sense something deeper, an awareness that has always been present, quietly observing, never changing, never in conflict. This is what lies beyond the mind. This awareness is not something you can think your way into. The very act of trying to grasp it pulls you back into the mind. It is like trying to still water by pressing on it with your hand. The more you try, the more ripples you create. Going beyond the mind requires no effort, no force, no achievement. It is the art of allowing, the gentle surrender into what already is. You are not becoming something new. You are remembering something timeless. Beyond the mind there is no sense of separation. No longer are there borders between the observer and the observed, the thinker and the thought. There is only the unfolding of life, experienced directly, without the filter of interpretation. It is a great relief, a falling away of the burden of selfhood. The tension of identity softens, and in its place there is spaciousness, open, boundless, clear. We live so much of our lives trying to fix, improve, or escape the mind's patterns. But the secret is that you don't need to escape the mind at all. You only need to see it clearly, watch its movements, feel its pull, and then let go, not by pushing away, but by relaxing your grip. In that moment, The mind is still there, but you are no longer inside it. You are no longer confined by its shapes. You are simply witnessing. This is the essence of going beyond, recognizing that you are not the thinker but the awareness in which thinking appears. You are not the wave, you are the ocean. The thoughts may rise and fall, but you remain, timeless, spacious, and free. In this state, even the mind is no longer the enemy. It is seen for what it is, a dance of energy, a song of the cosmos playing its notes in the theater of time. You no longer need to silence it, judge it, or conquer it. You simply abide as the silence in which the music plays, and when this becomes clear, life itself transforms. You no longer act out of fear or desire. You respond from presence. You live with a quiet joy, not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer trying to control it all. You are no longer trapped in the narrative. You are free, not by leaving the world or the mind behind, but by seeing through them to the deeper reality that holds them all. Beyond the mind is the vast, formless mystery that you already are. It is here. It has always been here, and it waits patiently for you to remember.